Record. There we go. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Katie and I work at the Sacramento Public Library, where books are just the beginning. Thank you so much for joining us for our Journaling for Mental Health program. We are so excited to offer this to you and to have local creative writing instructor Nena Larieze with us today, and we'll get to her in just a moment. But first, I wanted to mention a few housekeeping things. The first is that all participant lines have been muted, but you may use the chat function to share comments and ask questions. I will make sure to monitor those throughout the program. And there will be some time for participants to share their work throughout the program. If needed, I can unmute lines so that you can speak to the group, or you can always feel free to use the chat to share your work if you would like. If you're having any audio related issues, please exit the program and re-enter. We find that typically doing that will solve that issue. And if you need closed captioning at any point during the program, please click the live transcript button that you'll find at the bottom of your screen. You'll click that button, wait just a moment, and then you will see the closed captioning pop up and you can follow along. And I will also be sure to add this information to the chat. We ask for your grace and understanding in this virtual world that we are in right now. If there is some kind of delay, the host drops off, or we experience any other type of interruption, please allow time for us to resume the program. Also, this program is being recorded and will be shared to our YouTube channel, which you can find under Sacramento Public Library, and it should be available within the week. So you can be sure to look for it there. Finally, I will be sending a short survey to all participants. Please feel free to share your thoughts about the program with us. We always appreciate hearing from you. And I will send a follow-up email with a link to the recording and survey, along with any documents or resources that Nena shares from the program. So please keep an eye out for that email. So let's go ahead and get started. With us today is Nena Larieze. Nena has 15 years of experience as an educator, including being a graduate writing consultant, an English high school teacher, a college professor, and most recently a program coordinator for local nonprofit 916 Inc. She is a published author and a doctoral candidate studying educational leadership and innovation at the University of the Pacific, where she researches trauma-informed curriculum and resilience. We are so pleased to have you lead us through this program, Nena. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you for that amazing introduction, Katie. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to kind of start out. I see there's a few raised hands or questions. I'll get to those in just a moment after just introducing the general layout of our workshop today. And I first just wanted to kind of check in and gauge to understand how many of you joined us a few months ago for our first Journaling for Mental Health. So if you want to type yes in the chat if you did join us last month, that would be amazing. I can kind of gauge that. And if not, welcome. I'll give a little bit of background for it. So last time we just sort of did a general one. We focused a little bit on emotional intelligence and resilience. And this time we'll be focusing a bit on resilience like holistically. So we'll dive in a little bit deeper. So the objective of our journaling session today is discovering resilience through observation, creativity, acceptance, and self-care. If you haven't already, I recommend, grabbing your journal, grab a pen. If you have crayons or colored pencils, that would be amazing. I just want to give everyone about 2 minutes to get set up. So, and we do have a little bit of a artistic prompt where we'll do some a color study. So if you have like a red pen or a blue pen, that would be ideal, but it doesn't have to be red. It could be red, it could be blue, it could be pencil, it could be black pen. So I'll just give everybody 2 minutes to get set up so that we're ready to go. Okay, I'll just check the chat really quickly. Welcome back, Carolyn. Okay, welcome, Charlotte. I see it's your first time here. Okay, awesome. So far about half of you who have responded in the chat have attended and about half not. So welcome to everyone. Can everybody do me a favor and just type ready in the chat when you're ready to go? I don't want to start going over prompts without you having your resources ready. So if you have paper, if you have the journal you picked up from the library, if you have your own personal journal, go ahead and type ready in the chat. Okay, awesome. So we'll have two themes today in our journal entry series, observation and acceptance. We'll have a bit of meditation. If you're new to meditation, they're very quick. The first couple are just a minute in length, 3 minutes in length, so it won't take too much of your time. And I just ask that you try. You could close your eyes, you can sit in your chair where you are, you can lay down, whatever you want to do while we're meditating. Some folks take a micro nap if it's not their thing. But I just if you're new to meditation, I just want to ask everyone to sort of embrace it with acceptance and open-mindedness, because I do find that journaling itself as an art form is meditative in nature. We'll have journal entries that include brainstorm improv. That's something that I've been doing that's kind of new, and I look forward to doing it with you. A mini memoir and flash fiction section to your journal, and also just considering resilience itself as a mantra. So first and foremost, those of you who attended might remember this from last time, but I just want to remind us how journaling is known to impact mental health. So it's known to reduce stress. It's known to diminish anxiety. It stops rumination and worry. It allows time for processing and also allows expression. So whether you're here because you're like, you know what, I'm really stressed, I'm interested in, doing some self-care or doing more for my mental well-being, or whether you're just here because you're a creative person and you like writing, whichever reason you're here today, we're open arms. It's whatever you're here for. I just wanted to give you some background there. So first and foremost, I just wanted to talk about emotional intelligence and how it applies to journaling. And then for resilience, I wanted you can either write down my definition for resilience, which is the first sentence here, or you can write your own, and then we'll get started. So emotional intelligence is awareness and acceptance of our emotions. It's a key factor to mental well-being. And journaling allows for this by being a tangible space for reflection. Resilience, and again, if you could write this down or write down your own definition of resilience in your journal, is an ability to recover from or adjust to misfortune or change. Journaling allows for this by allowing space for adjustment and acceptance. So I'll just pause for about a minute to allow everyone to write down either the first sentence here, because we'll be writing quite a bit about resilience, so you have a point of reference, or your own definition. Some folks say it's courage, some folks say it's strength, however you define resilience. Okay. And a little background quote, journaling, this is really interesting to me, is now being studied in depth, and how it impacts physical healing. So there was a study done on 49 adults in New Zealand, and it found that those who wrote daily for 20 minutes about their feelings, as opposed to just scheduling, healed faster after a biopsy. So I thought that was a really interesting piece of information, and I have the reference for that at the end of the presentation. What I like to do when I begin journaling is set an intention. So I'd like for you to sort of consider what emotions are present, whether it's, are you a little anxious? Are you exhausted? Are you hopeful? So I want you to write down in your journal what emotion is present and which emotions you would like to be present after writing. So two things, again, which emotion or emotions are present, and which would you like to be present at the close of the workshop. So it'll take about a minute for that. You can also type it in the chat. And I'll go ahead and type how I'm feeling as well. Okay, so about 30 more seconds to notate how you're feeling now, how you'd like to feel at the close of this workshop, and you can type it in the chat if you like. If you're like stuck and you're like, I don't know how I feel, there's this handy mood meter here. And if you sort of notice, there is a a little bit of a theme where the emotions up at the top are sort of a little bit more upbeat. So you have serene, fulfilled, chill, thoughtful, and sort of at the bottom down here on the left side is like sadness. So sad, alienated, burnt out, exhausted. Whereas on the other side, again, you have excited, inspired, and at the bottom, irritated, stressed. So however you feel is fine. You can share it in the chat if you'd like. Okay, awesome. So I'm seeing a little bit of anxiety and depression. Absolutely. I like whenever folks also have like a positive emotion and then also like one that might be perceived as difficult. So like anxious and accepting from Christine. Shanae says, I'm feeling hopeful and would like to feel motivated, energized. Patricia says tired and anxious. And I like Charlotte's, I'm feeling curious right now. Perfect. Awesome. Okay, so some of you all are, I'm certain, with as many folks who have signed up for this workshop, are artistically inclined, meaning you can draw easily, you can draw well. I am not one of those people. I'm a good doodler. I like to write, take my time with my handwriting, but that's about the extent of it. I like to color in things. But if you are a person who enjoys drawing, then please, like by all means, like design up your journal, do whatever you need to make it your own space. And so, but if you're not, that's okay too. So I just wanted to kind of show these pictures of how some folks like to decorate their journals for a little bit of journal inspiration. Okay, so our first journal theme today is observation. So you have your intention. I'm going to play two really quick meditative videos. The first one's 1 minute. The second one's 3 minutes. They're both from Headspace, and I do have some links for Headspace if you're interested in having a meditation app if you don't already subscribe. We'll do something called a color study to sort of get us into our inner child, to have us get outside of our thoughts, our worries, our anxieties, and then we'll get to writing with an improv brainstorm. And with the whole holistic goal here to discover resilience through observation and creativity. So here I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment and bring back up my screen through Headspace. So 1 moment. Okay, unfortunately, this is as big as I can get it, so hopefully you can see it okay. I'm going to go ahead and play this now, and we'll sort of discuss after we play both.
Take a moment to imagine a bright blue sky stretching off distance. Feels pretty good, right? This is a perfect metaphor for the mind, a blank canvas on which thoughts, feelings, and experiences appear. Okay, so maybe there are just a few clouds, but they tend not to bother us or distract us too much, especially if they're the cute little fluffy variety. This is how the mind appears when it's calm, bright, serene, and happy. But life isn't always easy. Sometimes there are a lot more clouds in the sky. Sometimes they might be the dark and stormy variety. Occasionally, we might even begin to wonder if a hurricane's on the way. It gets to the point that it's hard to think of anything else. In fact, sometimes we get so obsessed by the clouds that we forget about the blue sky altogether. But it's still there. Every time you're in a plane and you fly through the clouds, there it is, right? Without fail, blue sky. It's easy to forget that what we're looking for is already here. And that's why we need reminding.
Okay. Welcome to the folks who just showed up. We're just doing two quick meditative videos and then getting into an activity and our writing for today. So 1 moment. I'm going to stop sharing and I have one more quick one. And I'll go from there. And so if you just joined us, welcome. Go ahead and grab your journal, a piece of paper. It could even be like an envelope, like I write on everything. So we're definitely here for whatever you have. And if you have access to color pencils, crayons, a red or blue pen, that's ideal. But if not, we'll make do. And so this is a quick one. And the reason I have this one is because the whole theme of this presentation is resilience. And so resilience is a lot, when you think about it, something in the last video that's already there, right? It's already with us, so sometimes we can't see it if our mind is sort of like clouded by dark thoughts or by frustration or by worry. And so with the making glass, I wanted to just like a visualization of how glass is made, and then it's sort of like the theme with sanding glass throughout the whole presentation.
Today we're going to explore nature's flexibility, specifically glass, a remarkable substance that's been part of everyday life since Egyptians developed the method of shaping molten sand more than 5,000 years ago. Centuries later, it provides a clear example of how versatile natural materials can be, and how even things which seem perfectly solid are capable of undergoing surprising changes. Let's start by imagining you're walking along a sandy beach on a hot summer day. You reach for a bottle of sparkling water from your bag, and once you're finished drinking, dutifully recycle it in a nearby receptacle. It may be hard to imagine, but that transparent bottle was once not so different from the sand that is now between your toes. Sand, also known as silica or silicon dioxide, makes up 59% of the Earth's outer layer, and at a molecular level is a simple combination of silicon and oxygen. Whether it's scooped from a beach, dug from the desert, or otherwise mined, silica is the primary ingredient used in the manufacturing of glass. The process begins by heating silica to very high temperatures, so that the solid sand becomes a molten liquid. What you're not seeing is the silicon dioxide molecularly looks like a perfectly symmetric three-dimensional honeycomb. The heat loosens the bonds between atoms, making the rigid structure more fluid or molten. Then chemicals such as calcium oxide or lime are added, make a strong, durable material that can be seen through. From there, the molten combination can be poured into bottle-shaped molds and allowed to cool, becoming the perfect container for liquids. Reduced into countless shapes and sizes, the varied forms that glass takes provide an endlessly renewable vessel for carrying the liquids that we consume in our everyday lives. When you finish a beverage and toss the glass bottle into a recycling bin, it's ultimately crushed down to once again resemble sand. Glassmakers can then add the recycled glass to silica, calcium oxide, and sodium carbonate, and heat it to make a new glass bottle, a process that can be repeated again and again in a perpetual cycle, without the slightest loss in quality or purity. And so, as you go about your day, notice the glass you drink from, or the windows you look out of, and be reminded of that potential for change, a perfect example of impermanence in the most solid seeming things.
Presentation. And there's a reason I go about it. Sometimes I think there was like wonder like why I focus on drawing or why I focus on watching a video or meditating. But what I find is in teaching writing for many years, that the more that we can access all of our senses and really clear our mind, the more that our journaling can be meditative, the more that our writing can be fluid. So hopefully you're ready to get into your inner child. If you have a red pen or red crayon or red color pencil, grab it. I didn't ask for you to get this ahead of time, so if not, a black pen will do, a blue pen will do, a pencil will do, and just go ahead and tell me when you're ready again. we're going to do something called a color study. I'm sorry about the volume. I was going to say, I put it up usually all the way and then, okay. Awesome. So I see Lorraine's ready, Adele's ready, Julia's ready, Carrie, Jackie, or Julia, and Stacy. Awesome. I definitely remembering some names from last time. Okay. I'm going to talk about red right now, but if you're doing gray because you have a pencil, or black because you're like, Nena, I wasn't prepared because you didn't prepare me, that's okay too. Whatever you have ready, just follow along with your color. So find a red pen, marker, crayon, and draw all of the red things you can think of. When you can't think of any more red objects, write in your red pen all of the emotions or sensations you can think of when you think of red. And so if that's super fast for you and you are an artist and have like beautiful paints in front of you or color pencils, move on to blue, move on to whatever color suits you. But again, if you have crayons or markers, this works best, but if not, pen or pencil is fine. So I have my red pen here. Not just because I've been a teacher for a long time, but I guess just because it came in a pack. And so I could start with something like, maybe I'm going to draw something simple like a heart or a rose, right? This, whatever comes to mind. It could be super simple icons, or it could be something a little bit more complex. And then I might write words that I think of when I think of red. So when I think of red, I think of rage. I think of also passion, right? Like someone being really passionate, not just like romantically, but like standing up for themselves. So I'm going to really quickly shift from the prompt back over to a virtual example of this exercise. I did it with Canva through slides, and then I'll come back. Again, this is like a finished product of red, right? Like I thought of exclamation marks, I thought of stop signs, I thought of hearts, I thought of the words rage, risky, romance, compassion, passion. Maybe you'll think of these words, maybe you'll think of other words. And I also have an example with blue. So for right now, I just wanted to kind of give you an example of how your page might end up looking. It's just doodling in words that represent a color. Any questions at all about the prompt before I set the timer? Okay. Just checking the chat. Okay. Feel free to raise your hand. Yeah, absolutely. Red flags. Take a moment to all of the ideas that come to mind. Go ahead and write that in your journal. Just like free thought, frame of reference, just off the top. I'm going to go ahead and set a timer for about 5 minutes this time and check in, because some folks will finish quite quickly. So 5 minutes are on a timer. And I'll go ahead and go on mute and also write and create with you in my journal. So I'll repeat the prompt one more time because I see some folks logged in or out or are just joining us. Welcome. So what we're doing is we're sort of trying to access our inner child by finding, if you have red pen, use a red pen. If not, blue pen, color pencils, crayons, black pen, pencil. It doesn't have to be a color if you don't want it to be. And take a moment and you're just going to write all the things you can think of that come to your mind of that color. And when you're finished with that, then you're going to write the words that represent that color. And if you get through red really quickly, you can move on to blue and black and see what comes up for you, or gray if you have a pencil. And I showed an example earlier where a finished product I had for red was, I had rage, romance, risky, passion, compassion, And then also I did one for blue where I thought of being down, being depressed, but also the state of like being in renewal and tranquility and spaciousness. So we're just sort of trying to, access our imagination ahead of our writing prompts coming up. And if there are any other questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat and I will respond. Okay, so there's about 1 more minute left. If you want to move on to another color or move on to words, if you're still drawing, up to you. Okay, and that is our first 5 minutes. If you'd like 5 more minutes to continue exploring, go ahead and type 5 more minutes in the chat. If I get more than 10, we'll go ahead and take more time. And if we don't need more time, let's go ahead and see if anyone would like to share. Go ahead and type up what came to you. Like first, maybe start with your color. And you could do something like this. So I did red, I had rose, heart, stop sign, red light. The word caution kept coming up to me, even though I know that's supposed to be yellow. Caution, wildfire, angry sunset. So I started going past words and I started getting into visualizations, like descriptions. Okay, awesome. So I see. Okay, so Allison did black. So thunder, dark, broken, dark clouds, depression. Oh, I like red for cola cola. I didn't even think about that. Tomatoes, Valentine's, exotic red. Nice. Red, fire, fury. Jill has a ton here. Red, apple heart, makeup bag, herb jar. I like how it's outside. I love whenever we do this, it's like you starts with simplistic, like the things everyone thinks of, and then you'll branch out to the things that are personal to you. see. So Rosa Maria did blue. So serene, blueberry, trustworthy, depression, calm, sky, sick, ocean, rivers. I like that orange too. Caution, warm, comforting, sun-kissed, tangy, exuberant, bright. Perfect. So that's kind of what I have. If you want to continue as we're going through, feel free to do that. It might be something for those of you who aren't super into meditation. When we do meditate at the end, you could continue with this color study to suit your, your thoughts. And let me just kind of go in here and see if I missed anybody. Kirsty has bluebirds, morning glories, space sky, and Henrietta took it to stability, space, paint. Awesome. Okay, so hopefully that was fun for you. I know it might have been a while since the last time you doodled or drew something, and so even though I'm not, the best at it, I did my best here. I'm trying to, I have like a background here, so it's not showing, but little teeny doodles, it's still there. I always get something out of it. So what we're going to be doing is an improv exercise. How many of you all have done improv before? Go ahead and type yes in the chat if you have, no if you haven't. Okay, awesome. So I'm seeing some yeses. Okay, so this time I am going to see if I can get some folks to share. So I'll ask Katie for help with that in just a little bit. But the first thing I want to do is we call it all different types of things. Some people love to start their journaling with what's called a brain dump, which is basically like getting all of the gunk out, right? So you can get to those beautiful metaphors. So it might be like whatever's stressing you out, getting your to-do list out of your head, getting whatever worries or emotions are on your mind out, getting frustrations or even hopes, like whatever just comes to mind without thinking, sort of stream of consciousness like. So on a new page of your journal, go ahead and open it up. And if you haven't done improv, it's absolutely okay. Like I just started doing it myself like a few years ago. So, and you might have done it and just not known it as improv. So we're going to use the improv structure of yes and new choice in just a little bit to sort of challenge our acceptance and our imagination. So with improv, if you haven't done it, you might have watched a show where yes and is a game where you are basically adding to your imagination. So if you say, once upon a time, there was a blue girl, and somebody would say yes and, she grew the sky, and you just keep going on with your imagination without thinking of it really. And it could be, nonfiction. It could say, last year I was really stressed out, and you would kind of think yes and go into it, right? So the first step without any structure is just list any thoughts, topics, or worries. Okay, so I'll just take a moment. I want everybody to take 5 minutes and challenge yourself to get as much on the page as possible. So any thoughts, any worries, any to-do lists, any topics, any hopes, get that on the page, and then I'll check it in 5 minutes. And I'll do the same with you. Okay, there's about a minute left if you're still engaging in your brain dump, getting everything out of your mind, any worries, any just making sure you fill up your page as much as you can. I list like some of my to-dos, I list some positive affirmations. I mentioned what I was going to do after this class, what I could do tomorrow, what could, you know, be held off. And then I want you to circle one. I see some of the writers here are already on top of it. You've already decided your one and you've put it in the chat. So it looks like Shanae says declutter office space. Marion saying lack of motivation. So choose whatever is like, you know what, this is the thing I want to focus on. And you can type it in the chat if you want. It's always optional. You never have to share. And I'm going to put mine out. I found a positive affirmation. As I was sharing with Katie earlier that I've just taken on a new role in educational leadership for a school district. And so in my new role, sometimes I get 40 emails a day and it can be stressful to have that many emails in your inbox. So I wrote something kind to myself, which is you are thriving in your new role. And just choose whatever your focus is. Jennifer's saying going for a walk in my neighborhood. Okay. Reach out to friends. Awesome. Who would be willing to come off mute to share what you have out loud and play a little improv activity with me? You know, we'll all give each other grace, like Katie mentioned in the norms earlier. So it would work like this. If mine says you were thriving in your new role, me and Katie were playing, it would be something like, we would just do a stream of consciousness talking out loud for a few steps. So if I said, you know, I'm thriving in my new role, Katie would say yes and, but I'm worried I won't. I might keep responding yes and keep going from there. Yes, go ahead and use the raise hand function if you'd like to do this activity. So I'll just give everybody a moment. And basically activity is just to come off mute or be unmuted by Katie to read your focal line out loud, and we'll sort of play an improv game with it. And if not, we can also play, I've done it during the chat too. Okay, awesome. I have Jessica. Okay, cool. So Jessica, I think you can come off mute now. Go ahead and read yours out loud.
Hi, it's working?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I just moved and I chose a fear of not being physically or emotionally able to make a nice life here.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask a couple on that point. I'm just going to ask a couple yes and questions and just see if you can write a couple more lines or say them out loud. Does that make sense? So you just gave me an explanation. Did you type yours in the chat yet or no?
No.
Okay. Okay, so can you say yours one more time, just like one line of it?
Yeah, fear of not being physically or emotionally able to make a nice life here.
Okay, so fear, yeah, the audio is a little muffled, so if you can type it up whenever you get a moment, that'll just kind of help everybody else follow along. And then I'll go ahead and ask you, yes and?
Sorry, I was
okay. It basically puts you on the spot. So yes
okay.
And?
Yes, and there's a lot of different aspects of that that all sort of need to come together.
Got it. Yes and?
Sometimes it's difficult to figure out where to focus on things, like how to prioritize.
Perfect. And so I'm going to go ahead and just mute for the second, but thank you so much for being the first person willing to try it. I am sorry that there was a little bit of muffled. So if you wouldn't mind, Jessica, if you're open to it, if you could type in, we'll go from there. And so basically, I don't know if you all are catching on, but the thing is, it's sort of, you know, trying to get you to, you're thinking about your statement and then you're expanding on it and hopefully getting more clarity. Okay. So, And I think there's a few people who rose their hands. Katie, if you want to go to the next person.
Yes, I'm showing Barbara Steinhardt Carter is the next one. So
Okay.
Barbara, I've made it so that you can speak, so you can feel free to do the activity.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay, because I wasn't sure if I had raised my hand or not, to tell you the truth. But yeah.
Okay, so
So
your statement was, what was your focal statement?
how to get motivated to do what I can see needs to be done.
Okay, so I'm just going to prompt you with yes and have you just come off the top of whatever comes to mind. Yes and?
Part of me knows what I need to do.
Mm-hmm. Yes and?
Besides making endless to-do lists, it's how to move from the recognizing it to doing it.
Perfect. So we could keep going on, but you see how from the beginning of the problem, we got from like a clarity to sort of like, if not a resolution, closer to the resolution is getting past the to-do list and more to the action, past the recognizing, right? The recognition and into action. Is that like correct, Barbara?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
I hope that helped. And so I'm just doing it really short so I can see at least another person here and have that sort of interaction. But with your writing, when you're writing a short story, or if you're writing, nonfiction about yourself, or whether you're just reflecting about your day or fears or worries, this activity is it kind of gets you out of your head and out of editing mode and into just, generating, into just creating. So I think we'll have the next person go, and we'll see where we are. We'll just do one more for now, and then I'll definitely we'll have more opportunities in the next prompt to do a lot more in-depth writing and share. And I think with this one too, actually, because we have another part two, we have step 3 still to do. So let's have one more person share, Katie, if that's okay.
Of course. So we have Patricia Wolf. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, Patricia, so you can feel free to do the activity.
Hi, Patricia. So do you want to go ahead and read out your statement? I think you have to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Perfect.
Oh, okay. Will the world recover from what we are going through?
Yes, and?
And at times I am very hopeful. If we could just have some common ground between a lot of different views, I think we can make some progress.
Yeah, I want to say yes, and, but I feel like you already sort of found the resolution very quickly. Thank you so much for sharing that, because that is a wonder I often have that's on my mind, because there's so much going on right now, whether it's climate or just disagreements or inflation. It's a changing world for certain. So thank you so much for sharing, Patricia.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and go to the last step. Hopefully this sort of like you were able to either ask yourself the questions as we were displaying the game, or you're able to add now. So the next thing I want you to do is, without editing, write about a character, a thought, or emotion, and just explore it without censoring, correcting, or judging it, which is really difficult. I worked with a co-teacher for a long time who used to say that in order to get to resilience, you first have to find acceptance. And acceptance is a really hard thing, especially for folks who are anxious like myself. When you're anxious, you feel really comfortable with control, right? And that makes it difficult to not censor, not correct, not judge. So welcome, Gloria, and welcome everyone who you're just joining. We're on to step 3 of our brainstorm improv of our journaling. I did see a question earlier about having a list of prompts. There's a lot of different websites I can recommend for that. And then also, I know Katie is going to send out after this class and recording a copy of some of the prompts that I wrote out for you all, if you can't stay the whole time. But what we've been doing is we basically just did a brain dump where we wrote any thoughts, topics, or worries on our mind. Then we circled one to focus on, and we're expanding that thought. So whether it is thinking about the world, thinking about moving, thinking about motivation, whichever it is, we're just going to try to get a page out. So this time I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes. It might take you some time to start, and that's okay. I think the hardest part about writing absolutely is starting. So take your time, doodle if you need to, keep brain dumping if you need to, go back to your color study if you need to. But what we're doing is choosing our focal statement. Mine is you are thriving in your new role, and we're expanding on that thought, whatever your thought is. Any questions at all before I set the timer? We start? Okay, so I'll go ahead and mute myself, and I will explore my thought in my journal along with you. Okay, so just a few more seconds left if you want to take a look at what you've written and add any more final thoughts. Ask yourself yes and to see if you truly have an ending or if you need more time. As Marjorie just has done, you can go ahead and type, what you've developed in this time into the chat. Some folks like to do that. If it's too much work, don't worry about it. You can also share aloud. So if you want to share out loud, you could raise your hand and we'll see how it goes. We'll take about maybe 3 to 5 folks who share, and then we'll go into a 5-minute break. And if you want to relate to something that they're talking about, you can say, I can relate or something in the chat. Okay, so I saw someone with their hand up. I don't know if that was meant. Okay, Katie, whenever you're ready, if you could provide Allison with sharing ability.
Sure. Sorry, I had to scroll through to find her. Give me just a moment. All right, so Allison, you should be able to speak now.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know what the right way was to do this, but I'm just gonna say what I wrote. So I did reach out to friends. I kind of wrote 2 friends holding hands and thought bubbles being transferred, advice. And then I put get advice on struggles, make a friendship, feel safe, feel stronger, support and empathy, feel okay, acceptance, cry, be empathetic, be a listener, be attentive. I said, be loving, not feel alone. I put, be supportive, be a new version of myself. And this is because I'm recently going through a breakup and I just kind of pushed all my friends away. So I'm just trying to regain a friendship that I had.
Got it. Thank you so much for opening up the share, Allison, and for that really reflective piece. I wanted to also comment to some of the chat. I noticed that I'm getting a lot of messages to host and panelists. And that's okay if you want to just send it to Katie and myself, but if you're wanting everybody to see your response, make sure to change the to everyone. So I don't know if I just wanted to make sure I'm realizing that about half of the messages are just coming to me. So if you want your messages to be seen by everyone, if you're sharing, go ahead and change it like that. So thank you again, Allison, for sharing that reflective piece. I think most of us can relate to that. So if you can, go ahead and show her that in the chat. Who is next?
Looks like Tiffany Sparks has her hand up, so give me just a moment. All right, Tiffany, you should be able to speak now if you'd like to share.
Hello. Hi.
Hi, Tiffany. The floor if you want to share.
Okay, I was wondering, so on the step 3, was it supposed to be written with the yes and new choice
No.
structure? No. Okay, cool, because I didn't do it that way.
No, that's okay. You can share whatever you developed.
So we just read it?
Yeah, if you would like to.
Okay, I wrote about doubt because I spent most of the time trying to figure out what to write, and I was doubting I would get it right. I put doubt is paralyzing. Every time I go to do something, I doubt there's enough time. I doubt I'll do it right. I doubt I'll get it done right. It'll get done right. I doubt it'll work out. I doubt it can be done. By the time I'm finished doubting, I found that I haven't even tried. I almost didn't write this. I doubted I knew exactly what to write and how to write about it. I wrote it anyway. I kicked doubt's ASS.
Thank you for sharing. So I'm already seeing in the chat, Yolanda saying that she can relate. I thought that was a really interesting piece, like a sort of instead of an extended metaphor, like an extended personification on doubt. Because as writers and as journalers, I mean, definitely. Okay, so thank you for sharing. And I think we have a few more. So we'll take, we have time for about 3 more. So if you rose your hand, I'll try to take a list in case we don't have time, because I do want to honor taking a 5-minute break in just a moment.
Okay, I think next up is Carrie Stalker. All right, Carrie, you should be able to speak now.
Okay, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, okay, this is hard for me. I hope I don't take up too much time. I'll try to read quickly. Oddly enough, my topic was an emotion. We all love it, anxiety. I am clinically diagnosed with anxiety, so it's pretty tough for me, so I'll just read what I wrote. Anxiety accepts that I have this disorder, accepts that I have the power, I just need to find it. I think deep down my self-hatred fuels this ugly entity because I already have a mind like a freight train flying towards a broken track. I feel like I'm constantly in a loop of racing thoughts. I can't even meditate properly because my mind won't calm down. It insists on taking me down the path of worry and all the what ifs. Anxiety leaves me looking strong on the outside while my inner self is eating me alive. Anxiety is a silent killer, not suicidal, just almost giving up. At what point will I break and no longer be able to put on the brave face that my family needs me to? No, relies on me to have. I'm afraid that I'm too broken sometimes, but anxiety makes me love more fiercely, have more empathy and compassion, and I'm able to help others when they can't cope. The trouble is that I can always find the right words to console other people, but the same words don't improve my own inner turmoil. The closer I get to trusting God, the more anxious I become because I realize how many things I'm not worthy of. No meditation, and my mind rejects meditation. That's it.
Thank you for sharing. I really, again, that's another extended personification on anxiety. And I'll also share, and you all don't have to if you don't want to, but I'm also diagnosed with anxiety disorders, so I can completely relate to that. And I really love the imagery of like the freight train, the racing thoughts. There was a pattern of visualization that was really effective. And so I'm seeing you're already getting some feedback in the chat from Allison, from Christine. So take a moment. If you connect to what Carrie wrote, saying I connect to that. Thank you. I know it's not always an easy topic, but it's a purposeful one. Okay, so we have time for 2 more folks to share, and then we'll take our 5-minute break.
All right, we're going to go next to Jennifer Atkins. So Jennifer, you should be able to speak now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I put well, I wrote a story down, but I'm just gonna explain my daily life. It's every time there's a new day, I get really nervous, but every time by the end of the day, I always stay focused, and I don't, I try not to worry a lot what's going on in the world. I just focus. And then every time I like made it through the end of the day, I get really proud of myself. So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
I like the positivity at the end, and I'm noticing that as a theme within not just your journaling, but also others, where it's like, despite the difficulty, there's this focus on but here's the light, despite the difficulty, right? Back and forth.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing that, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we I saw that there was a lot of feedback. If you want to read that, and we'll go to one more person, and there'll be more time to share when we get to our other entries. So we'll take one more person before break.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and go to Gloria Honda. Sorry, keep skipping around here. So, all right, Gloria, you should be able to speak now.
Okay, I hope you can hear me, and I hope you don't hear my grandson starting to wake up and cry. Sorry.
Either way, I have 3 children. It's acceptable.
Sorry. I wrote about anxious, and I did it. And then I took the other, I'm guessing that I'm catching up here.
Oh, your audio, sorry, Gloria, your audio just got really muffled. And so I don't know if you
A lot of efforts to cause me fear and nothing to worry about since I am not in control. Extra time wasted in riding anxiety trains to nowhere. I want to be free of anxiety that gives
I think we lost Gloria. So I'll give her an opportunity to type hers up. If you didn't get a chance to share and you still want to share, go ahead and keep your hands up. And the next time we get to a share, that way you don't lose your place in like the line. And if you were trying to share with the earlier one, you can do the same thing. So let's go ahead and go to a 5-minute break. Grab some water, grab a snack, whatever you need, stand up, stretch. Oh, hi, Cindy, and thank you. I'm going to go ahead and mute myself and stop my video just for 5 minutes, and I'll be right back. Okay, I just have a did you know fact up as everyone returns from their break. If you could indicate to me that you're back by typing back, so I know. Keep your journal ready if you just joined us. If you have color pencils, crayons, great. If not, no stress. A pen, pencil, it's just fine. I'm seeing that Beatrice is back, Judy's back, Alice is back. Welcome back. If you join us a couple minutes later, that's okay too. So I found it really interesting to know too that journaling about your feelings, not just listing your day-to-day, but about your feelings, as a lot of you were, is linked to decreased mental distress. So in a study, researchers found that those with various medical conditions and anxiety who wrote online for 15 minutes 3 weeks a day over a 12-week period, so very specific from the researchers, had an increased feeling of well-being and fewer depressive symptoms after 1 month. So I thought that that was really good to know. If you're new to journaling, or like me, I've been an avid journaler my entire life, but I have breaks where I don't journal for months. So whether you're trying to get back into it or whether you journal all the time. Oh, I apologize. I didn't realize I didn't have my video on. Hi. So I'm gonna keep going. Our next and last theme for today is acceptance. So I want you all to flip back to your intention. Maybe take a moment, and by intention, like, what emotion did you want to feel? So if you all want to go back, if you joined late, what we did was we talked about how we felt, like which emotion we were experiencing at this moment, and then which emotion we wanted to feel after writing. So go back to what you wrote if you did that, or if not, take a moment to notate it. So for me, I was sort of feeling restless, a little anxious, and I wanted to feel more calm and centered. I do feel a bit more calm, but I just want you to have in mind like what your goal is there. Okay. Okay. And so I have another meditation. It's, well, really just a video. Again, let me pull it up here. Okay. So again, this is a really quick one.
Think of the mind as a still pool of water. Each thought is like a raindrop. It creates a ripple on the surface. If it starts raining very hard, or it's perhaps a little windy, then the pool might become so cloudy that we can't see what's on the bottom. But the potential to return to our still pool of water is still there. In fact, by training the mind, the ripples naturally begin to slow. And as the surface of the pool becomes still, it gets easier to see what's beneath the surface. Sometimes we might like what we see, at other times, well, maybe not so much. Now, occasionally finding things we don't like may sound off-putting, but it's really important because it's part of letting go of those things. Accepting what's in our mind also helps us to be less critical of ourselves. It can even help us to be less critical of others. So we start to feel more content in life, to experience more harmonious relationships, and to be more at ease with the world around us.
Okay, so that's that one. I'm going to go back to our presentation. And I did have a few questions in the chat earlier about what Headspace app I was in, or where I was exactly in Headspace. And I do have some links that I'll have at the end of the presentation for you too, so that you can sort of follow along. Okay. Before we get to our next writing prompt, I also wanted to mention with the meditation, because there are a few writers who talked about like the inability to meditate or quiet our thoughts. And I just wanted to mention that what I've learned by meditating for the last 12 years is that Thoughts never really go away. We just sort of react to them differently, right? Like we'd get less frustrated by them. So I just wanted to kind of give that little thought because on my best days, I meditate about 30, 45 minutes a day, but I've been busy lately, so I haven't meditated at all. So, but I do notice a difference when I do. So our next prompt could be your choice, right? I want to give you 4 different options. You can write about resilience or you can write about whatever you want to journal about also at any point in time. But I'll go ahead and read this prompt out loud and then ask if you have any questions. So, mini memoir and microfiction. Select a prompt adventure. So for the nonfiction, I want you, if you're going that route, select an age and write a 2 to 5 paragraph memoir about a time you displayed resilience or any memory that comes to mind. Sometimes this is really fun to think about the time that like, it doesn't sound fun, but the time that like you got stitches or like just to look back at that time and remember those details, right? Maybe not like the pain of getting stitches, but like who were you then? What were you wearing? What was the weather like? What year was it? Right? Getting really into our memory. So that's an option. Writing about an age or a memory, that true story. Fiction could be create a character and write about a time they demonstrated resilience. You could write about an adventure that involves resilience. Maybe you're planning a trip or you have a dream trip that you imagine. Or exploration. Some folks are history buffs, so you can write about a fictional or historically accurate depiction of resilience in exploration. So those are just 4 different options of wherever you can take it. And so I want to see if there are any questions. Okay. No worries, Gloria. Thank you for taking the time to type that out. I haven't seen it yet, but I'll review it. Any questions at all about this prompt? You can really take it in 4 or as many directions as you want to with this journal entry. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and set the timer for 10 minutes. And if any questions arise, go ahead and drop them in the chat. Okay, that is time. Thank you, Olivia, for typing up some of your journal entry. And I think some folks still have their hands up. If you still want to share what you wrote this journal entry or the time before, we can go ahead and start with those folks whenever you're ready, Katie.
Sure. I've seen Mariah Hernandez has their hand up.
Okay.
So Mariah, you should be able to speak now.
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you.
Okay. I was kind of really nervous at the beginning of this class because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to find words. I've never really done anything like this before, but I found my stride. My story about resilience is I went through a breakup recently. It feels strange to even call it that, considering we never even met. We never even went on a date or met in person. I loved him fiercely anyways. He was mine through and through. Except he wasn't really. He loved me with a coward's heart, half in and half out. I never learned how to love that way, and sometimes, all the time, I wish I could. It would be less painful. I could feel it in my bones that I was losing him, and in the end, I didn't really even try to fight it. I walked forward, leaving him behind and taking with me every beautiful memory we share. His love changed me. It healed me. He made me realize I'm worthy of love. I'm not a burden. Lessons I'll carry with me. I miss him every day, and every day a part of me hopes he'll find bravery within him to try with me, for me. It's okay if he doesn't, though. I'll be okay. More than okay.
Wow, Maria, thank you so much for sharing. You have a really beautiful pace in your voice when you read out loud. And then also, I just love that there is not only the theme of resilience, but also acceptance as well. Thank you. I'm so glad that you stuck it through and got that out.
Thank you.
Okay, and so I'm also, there's a lot of folks relating with you, and Katie be adding more than okay at the end. Absolutely. Okay, so I'll go ahead at this point in time and move on to the next writer who would like to share their journal entry.
Okay, Patricia Wolf has had their hand up. So Patricia, I'm going to unmute and you can feel free to share.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm trying to find, I wrote it in here, I'm trying to find my entry. Let's see. Do you see my entry in there?
Is it in the chat?
Yeah.
Oh, did you want to read it out loud?
Yeah, I want to read it out loud.
Go for it. Yeah, I see it.
I can't see it though.
Oh, you kind of have to go back, like kind of scroll back up. As the comments come, it will keep pushing it down.
Oh.
So you can, on the right-hand side, you can kind of move that little gray line up.
Yeah, I just can't seem to find myself. You see me in there though? You see my...
You want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay, so Patricia says, an 8-year-old girl is with her dad bringing a half-grown steer on a lead from a grassy field where he has been grazing. The little girl asks, Dad, can I ride him? He said yes and put the girl on the steer's back, and the steer immediately bucked the girl off, and the dad caught her in midair. The girl was delighted and asked, Dad, can we do that again? Very cute.
Yeah, of course that was me.
I was imagining that. That's quite an experience. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing that memory. I hope it took you back. I love like looking back, especially 8 years old or 7 years old. Sometimes when we sit down and write, if you just ask anyone to remember something, that's difficult, right? But when you take the time to develop it, you'll find a lot of times through different senses that it'll just come rushing back. And a great way to do that, just like tip in general when you're trying to write about like yourself or mini memoirs, is listening to a song you used to hear on the radio when you were very young is this one great way, or like finding a picture and just sort of like staring at that picture. A lot of creative writing professors of mine in the past would have an exercise. We'd find a picture and the exercise would be tell the story behind the smiles, like what was really going on. That's actually something we should do next time. So thank you so much for sharing, and I'll go ahead and go to the next person to share their journal entry or part of their journal entry.
Okay, so Kirsty Houston has had their hand up for a bit, so I'm going to allow them to talk. So Kirsty, you can unmute and share if you'd like.
I'm not sure if Kirsty can hear us. Kirsty, if you want to type up what you wrote, or we'll kind of check back in with you. Just give you one more chance before we go to the next person, because I see two more people with their hands raised. Okay, I'll go ahead and send her a message, and if we can go to the next person, Katie.
Okay, I believe that's Jennifer Atkins. So Jennifer, you can feel free to unmute and share if you'd like.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. This year I tripped and fell while I was walking. I dislocated my finger, and my stepdad took me to the emergency room. I had to wear like a splint for 2 weeks, and then I had to wear a cast for another 2 weeks. I was depressed that I couldn't go skating or rollerblading or do some of the things I can do during my daily life. A few weeks later, I could do a little bit of my arts and crafts when I was recovering. I had to go through physical therapy, and I did it, and then I had to wear some buddy tape, and then but still I couldn't do like the skating and rollerblading. Those were my favorite things to do. And then after I attended all the physical therapy, my finger was in good condition. I could do some arts and crafts, and then I started skating again. And then what else? I had to wear protective gear, and I had to wear I have to wear like a special band-aid to roller skate. And then today my finger is very recovered, and I feel happy, and I can do some of the stuff I can do again. So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing, Jennifer. I know this last year my youngest son broke his foot in 4 places at the playground in kindergarten. So it was just like one of those things that was just like so unexpected. And so I just want to thank you for sharing that, not only the resilience, but the struggle that led to that. So thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome. Thank you. Welcome.
Okay, so I see that there are a few folks who are sort of sharing some memories. I think it's interesting too how we see a lot of like different like injuries and things like that, but like getting back on our feet. There were a few questions about not seeing the chat. Sometimes we'll receive a like it seems like it's sort of set to host an panelist, but if you want everyone to see it, just go down and click to where it says to everyone. So unless you do that, just me and Katie will see it. If you want everyone to see it, just as a reminder, go ahead and click that. And that's why you might not be seeing everything I'm seeing for the questions in the chat. Okay, so I think what I'm going to go ahead and do before we get into this resilience as mantra is I had, let me just see here. Let me see. One moment. I think we'll go ahead to the confidence meditation, and then we'll see where we are for time. And then we'll do one final prompt, whether that is the resilience as mantra or self-care prescription. I'll kind of feel it out and see where we are. So one moment, I'm going to stop and then share this back. This meditation is actually a full meditation. So when I play it, it's 8 minutes long. Whenever I teach meditation to students, and I've worked from anywhere as young as third grade to college to, you know, those who are 25 and older, usually what I'll first do is say, you can go ahead and put your head down. If you feel uncomfortable meditating, you can sit. I'm just going to sit here with my kind of hands up. You can sit on the floor, you can lay down. That's my preferred meditation stance. You can doodle and go back to your color study, whatever makes you feel comfortable. But I'm going to go ahead and play this meditation, and I'll check back in with you all in 8 minutes.
Sometimes we place a lot of conditions on our sense of confidence. Like, I'll only be good enough when I do this. Or if I only had that, then I'll feel better about myself. And as long as those conditions exist, we'll never quite feel like we're enough. Unconditional confidence is that unwavering trust and acceptance of ourselves. Unwavering meaning unshakable. No matter what the circumstances, we can still see, feel, and believe in our gifts, abilities, and talents, or even just who we are. Even when we make mistakes or fail, we can learn to see these moments as opportunities for growth and learning, and less as flaws in our character. But it's easier said than done. So in this exercise, we'll ask ourselves a reflection question. And you'll notice that the question is asked in second person. This is meant to stop the mind from thinking of the perfect answer, because what's most important here is the feeling. So let's give this a try. Take a moment to just get comfortable. You can be sitting upright or lying down, whatever feels right for you. The eyes can be open or closed. And then just taking a moment to notice any sounds around you in your space. Now, taking 3 big, deep breaths. In through the nose and out through the mouth. Softening the eyebrows, the jaw, the shoulders, and continuing to scan down the body. Noticing where you're holding on to any tension or tightness. Now, gently guiding the focus to the breath. Feeling that rising and falling sensation in the body. Following each inhale as it turns into an exhale. And now, asking yourself kindly and curiously, in this moment, can you accept yourself as you are? And noticing what happens in the mind and body. What begins to appear? Any feelings or sensations? And not thinking about the answer, but just allowing any feelings to arise. Asking yourself this question takes courage. And it's this courage that creates a sense of confidence. So remembering to breathe, maybe asking yourself this question again. In this moment, can you accept yourself as you are? Maybe placing a hand over your heart, and just continuing to breathe. Noticing what feelings arise. And also knowing that there's no right or wrong answer here. Noticing when the mind wanders, gently guiding it back, reminding yourself of that question. And meeting whatever feelings arise with the breath. Continuing to breathe in and breathe out. And when you're ready, taking a deep breath, and on the exhale, slowly and gently opening the eyes. And just pausing here for a moment. When I think of what it means to be confident, I think of the grounded and immovable presence of a mountain. Despite the weather, a mountain remains firm and solid. And these qualities are qualities that we can embody to help us cultivate that sense of unconditional confidence. No matter the circumstances we may find ourselves in, we can learn to stay connected to who we are and accept ourselves as we are. This is what unconditional confidence is. It's not reliant on others or whether we win or lose, succeed or fail. The more we can ask ourselves this question, the more certain we'll feel. Self-acceptance builds the foundation for our self-confidence. So from here, I invite you to write down a few words that describe what you look and feel like when you feel your most confident. And keep these words nearby, maybe on a sticky note so you can remind yourself on the days that you need a boost or a reminder. And if you'd like to learn more about acceptance, check out the acceptance course in the Meditate tab.
Okay, thank you so much for meditating or listening in. If you want to come back, kind of like wiggle your fingers, roll your head around slowly to bring yourself back in a space, you can do that. Go ahead and turn to a new page and write down that prompt if you'd like. How do you look or feel when you're most confident? And I'll go back to the slides. The last very short writing prompt. Oh, 1 second. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . is a self-care prescription. And I did this last time, so if you did it before, please join in again. But real quick, did you know college students who wrote about stressful events were less likely to get sick compared to those who wrote about neutral topics like the room? So that's a just did you know? So the self-care prescription, I want you to, let's keep it brief since we're at the end of our time together, and come up with maybe 2 self-care goals to build resilience. So maybe take a look, you can page through what you've written today, just kind of scan through it, and I'll go ahead and create a goal with you as well. So I'll set the timer just for 2 minutes, really brief, coming up with a few goals, self-care goals to build resilience. An example of one could be, when I feel overwhelmed, I'll take a walk, just for an example. Or when I feel stressed out, I'll meditate for 5 minutes. So 2 minutes are on a timer, coming up with 2 self-care or more self-care goals in your journal. Okay, so that is our time. If you didn't have enough time, hopefully you'll take this off the, you know, continue on the page at home after this class ends. So I wanted to share mine, and you can go ahead and share yours if you want as one of our final things. To build resilience, I will make time for morning and evening yoga, especially when I'm exhausted, even when I'm exhausted, and especially when I'm exhausted. Okay. Thank you, Barbara. I have just a quick self-care poem to sort of end the class with, and then I'll ask you to return to your original intention and see how you're feeling now. I know my emotions have changed, and hopefully yours have too. So excerpts from 3 poems, self-care. So this is a poem, and it's sort of a little sassy. You might catch on to the tone. Have you tried rose hydrocortisol, smoky quartz in a steel bottle of glacier water, tincture drawn from the stamens of daylilies grown on the western sides of 2-story homes, pancreas of toad, deodorant paste? Have you removed all your metal fillings, made peace with your mother, with all the mothers you can? Primal screamed into a down alternative pillow and in a wood while tree bathing? Has the shore risen as you've closed up the shop, colored in another mandala? Have you looked at yourself in the mirror and found the blessed halo of a ring light in each iris? Have you been content enough being this content? And so what I wanted to sort of mention to you as you journal after this course and continue on is that it's not all simplistic, right? Like self-care isn't instant. And so into the question in the Q&A too, I think it's when it comes to the concept of, immovable confidence, the thought process is you are staying still even when things all around you are falling apart, right? And easier said than done, for myself included. So the last little thing I'll ask you before we sign off is typing in the chat, what emotions are present? Is there any difference? And what are your goals for the rest of the week? So I'm seeing Tiffany saying, my goal is to journal and meditate. I'll type mine as well before we signed off. Okay, so I'm seeing that Wendy is hopeful versus overwhelmed by doing this. And Marion's goal is to draw and write daily. Mariah is feeling proud of their self, which was the writing intention. Awesome. Perfect. One day at a time from Amber. Level up on arts and crafts. Awesome, Jennifer. So, I just want to say thank you for all of you who were vulnerable and shared your journal entries, shared your personal thoughts and feelings, took time out of your busy schedules and days while you're going through a lot. We will be continuing this, in a few months on a monthly basis. So I'm not sure if you had any final thoughts to share before we sign off, Katie?
Well, I just want to speak for everybody and say a big thank you to you, Nena, for an amazing, thoughtful, wonderful program again. And I'm sure, like so many in our audience, I could listen to this and participate in these activities all day. So thank you so much. And thank you everybody for participating in our Journaling for Mental Health program. Like Nena said, we will be continuing this as a program for the next few months. So more information on that will be coming. So make sure that you stay tuned. And as a reminder, I will be sending an email to all participants with a link to the recording of today's session, a participant survey that we hope to get your thoughts and feedback, and any documents from the program. So please keep an eye out for that email. And if you have any questions following today's program, please feel free to reach out to me. I can always reach out to Nena if it's something specific for her. So to find a library location near you, to sign up for a library card, or to learn about upcoming programs for all ages, just go to www.saclibrary.org. So for Nena, myself, and the Sacramento Public Library, thank you so much and be well. Bye.